DJ PK, we are joined now by Jay Drew, covering BYU for the Deseret News. Jay, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Spring football overlapping with March Madness. You just don't sleep and everything works out fine. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it should be called winter football, but BYU starts pretty early with spring football. They have for the last couple of years, and that's what we got. March Madness starting up and spring football all in the same month, so should be fun.
Well, that's okay. They call August fall camp, and we're still
I know.
2 months away. So it only makes sense that they get the season wrong on this one. And obviously the Cougs brought in Bohannon. Listen to him talk. He seems like a really mature kid, been around the block. What is your take as far as I think right now Retzlaff might have a little bit of a lead, but it's, obviously they just barely got out of the gate. You're using horse racing analogy. So when we get to the finish line, game one, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'd give a slight edge to Retzlaff right now. They've looked pretty similar in the little viewing portions of practice that we've been able to see. I think Aaron Roderick really wants that continuity. He's mentioned it every time he's done interviews, that continuity of roster, kind of the familiarity with each other that the offensive players have is really, really important to him. I think he learned that lesson the hard way last year with so many new faces. So that would make me believe that Retzlaff has the upper hand, but just slightly. I mean, you can tell that Bohannon is a really, really good leader. The guys gravitate to him already from what I've seen. He seems to have more, I don't know if you'd call it energy or passion or pep when he's out there as far as mingling with his teammates than Retzlaff has. I don't know how that will play out, or translate into, him winning the job or not. But I would say right now it's really, really close, and I think Retzlaff is maybe if you were to ask me today who's going to be the starter, I would probably lean towards Retzlaff, but it's really close.
There were plenty of ex-BYU players commenting on Retzlaff's throwing motion and all that. Have they changed any of that in the offseason, or he is who he is? And if he throws a little bit like it's a baseball, well, get used to it.
Yeah, he is who he is what I would say. It doesn't sound like I actually talked to Aaron Roderick a few weeks ago and asked him about that, and he really didn't say they were tinkering with it that much. Retzlaff did say that he's been working it with John Beck, at least he was, in the winter break and down there in California, and that maybe John, I don't know this for a fact, but maybe John is working with that at all. But from what we've seen in the limited viewing portions of practice that we've had, it's the same style. It's that same kind of like a shortstop fielding a grounder on the run and kind of throwing sidearm. And it has worked well for him so far in spring camp. He's thrown some really nice balls. He had one yesterday to JoJo Phillips, kind of a long throw, found for about a 50-yard touchdown at the indoor practice facility. So, yeah, I would be surprised if he changes it much. It's worked for him in the past, and I imagine he'll stick with it.
You got any kids coming off missions that you think can contribute?
There's a running back that's really hard to pronounce his name. He actually isn't off a mission. He signed in 2023, and then they kind of gray-shirted him last year when he kind of decided at the last minute not to go on a mission. His name's Pokai Hyunga, I think is how you say it. He's out of Timpview. And every time Roderick talks about the running backs, he brings this kid's name up. So I think he might have a chance. Another one is Joe Brown, an offensive lineman that they put on scholarship. He was kind of a walk-on, went on a mission, came back, still didn't have a scholarship, and then they gave him one just in the off season. So I think those are two that we'll probably see some playing time right away.
When you mention continuity and A-Rod feeling a little burned by a lack thereof, how much does Mark Pope's press conferences echo around your mind? Is that something that ties these two programs together right now? The lack of continuity really hurt them, and continuity can really make them a lot better.
Yeah, interesting you should bring that up. I actually, Roderick, in that conversation I had with him a few weeks ago, brought that up. Just said, hey, there's a good example right here in our own school with what's going on with the basketball team. They basically have, one Ali Khalifa. I know Trevin Nell didn't play last year with the shoulder injury, but so I guess you could say they're two kind of new guys, as it were. But Roderick has mentioned that several times that's really, he thinks is kind of the secret to the success or what they need to build on this coming year with so much continuity. And that's why they didn't really go into the transfer portal very hard. They've got maybe one guy out of the portal that will make an impact, maybe two. I guess you could consider Bohannon, and then Jack Kelly, a linebacker from Weaver State. Other than that, they really didn't hit the portal that hard. They got a punter from Pitt, but really they're gonna ride with the guys from last year, at least on offense, for most of the way. They're not even bringing in a running back, which I found kind of surprising. When Aiden Robbins left, I thought, well, certainly they'll go get a running back out of the transfer portal, but as of now, they haven't even done that. So I think they're gonna try to build upon this continuity and familiarity and see where it takes them.
They make the changes along the offensive line and tight ends. I'm not sure if they were scapegoats, but nevertheless, they made them, and they got some players coming back that they believe in. So what level of improvement are they going to have at those two positions? Obviously, the one's tight end's a 1 and offensive line is 5.
Yeah, tight end. I think they'll miss Isaac Rex, but they're really, really high on this Reiner Swanson, a freshman that's come in, graduated from high school early. He's looked really good in spring practices. He's really fast for a man his size. He's about 6'4", and reminds me a little bit of kind of Dennis Pitta in the way he plays. And then as far as offensive line, they really kind of caught a break, I guess, when Braden Kind decided to return. That should help them a lot. Also, Connor Pay. They're still talking about a couple guys that they want to bring in, a couple more offensive linemen. But they got Waylon Lapuaho back, and they'll have a hard time filling the shoes of Kingsley Suamataia, who's probably going to be a first or second day NFL draft pick. But it'll be interesting. That I hear a lot of good things about T.J. Woods, this offensive line coach that they brought in. Roderick was basically tasked with finding a guy by Satake, and he leaned on some of his buddies like in the business, like Clay Helton and Andy Ludwig, and kind of asked them, hey, who do you know out there? And this T.J. Woods came highly recommended from these guys. So we'll see. But I expect some improvement on the offensive line. I even think some of the guys that are coming back, like Caleb Etienne, who wasn't really great last year, I think they moved him to guard towards the end of the season, and I think he'll be much improved. And so they should be improved, but there's a ways to go. They got to get a better running game. Roderick has brought that up several times again. That they just last year, the inability to run the ball was really put a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks, and was really the number one reason why the offense sputtered. I think through the middle of the season was just lack of a running game.
Do you think that was more on the offensive line or more on the running backs?
I think it was more on the offensive line. It hurt him when Aiden Robbins, who they were really banking on when he had the rib injury and couldn't go, and they had to play a freshman, L.J. Martin, who did an okay job, for a freshman. He had some really flashes of brilliance, and then he got hurt as well. But, I just think they had the wrong guys in the wrong places on the offensive line to start the season. Some reason they thought Connor Pay would be better at guard, and they had Paul Miley, the Utah transfer, starting out at center, and that didn't work out. And it was just kind of a constant shuffling throughout the whole year, and they were just out of sync, and they were decent pass blocking, pass protection, but they just could not establish any sort of rushing attack. And so, granted, David, they didn't have great running backs. They didn't have Tyler Algier back there, or even a Chris Brooks from the year before. But I would have to put most of it on the O-line. They just never seemed to find a rhythm or could get in sync.
How much do you think in basketball it's about Sunday, apparently, not the other days of the week, that's leading to their success?
You mean basically getting away from it all and taking a break and all that?
Pope's been talking about Sundays all of a sudden.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know how to go there. It's obvious there, the lack of, not having that day of preparation, it hasn't hurt them that much. So, yeah, maybe there's something to it. It's hard to tell. The guys do seem fresher, and there was only one game where it seemed like they didn't have their legs. I think that was in the Oklahoma game. Of course, they had traveled from West Virginia straight to Oklahoma, but took Sunday off as kind of a travel day. But yeah, I there might be something to it. I don't know. Polk certainly has mentioned it a couple times, like you said, Pat. So maybe there's something to it.
When you watch the basketball team down the stretch here, are they cut out? Do they have enough depth to be cut out for tournament play? At least the conference tournament. The NCAA tournament, you get a day off between games. But the conference tournament, the games come fast and furious. Are they cut out for that with their depth and their reliance on three-point shooting?
Yeah, it's they live by it and they can die by it. The games they've lost, they just haven't made threes. The games they've won, they've made threes. It's pretty simple. They have a good, solid rotation. They have a deep bench. They can go 8 deep and even 9 and 10 if they work in Trey Stewart and Atiki Ali Atiki. So I kind of wrote about that the other day, that this is one of the deepest benches in America, really, considering the bench guys chip in over 40 points a game. So I think they're built to have some success in the Big 12 tournament, but it's kind of simple, but it just if they hit shots, they're gonna they hit those 3-pointers, they're gonna play with anybody. If they come up cold like they did at Oklahoma State a few weeks ago, or Kansas State last week, they can lose to anybody. So it's really hard to really predict this team. They've made me a believer as far as the talent and the way they play, and that it can be effective and it can work. But boy, these Big 12 teams, some of them are really, really good. And I think one thing that might hurt BYU is they just don't have a star. Jackson Robinson is probably their leading scorer and has been there, but when you get to the tournament and even the conference tournaments, I just think you need a go-to guy, a big-time star who might get a little favorable treatment from the officiating, and BYU just doesn't have that, and that might be their Achilles heel. We'll see.
Given the fact that I know what your primary form of recreation is, are you upset that the conference tournament is in Kansas City and not Las Vegas?
Oh, you had to go there. Yes, I am very upset. Yes, as a matter of fact, I've been to Kansas City a couple times now. It's okay, but it's not Las Vegas. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I'll be in Vegas, and I'll be thinking of you.
And I'm not a big eater either, PK. Well, you probably think I'm a big eater, but I'm not.
No, I don't.
But the whole Kansas City barbecue thing and all that, it's overrated. I don't know. I just don't get it. You and I and Jacob went to some gas station that had barbecue last time we were in Kansas City.
Yes.
I'm like, good grief, the hot dogs at 7-Eleven are better than this stuff.
That's why we stopped at 7-Eleven on the way back to the hotel.
Oh, yeah. Had to fill up on the big gulps. Oh, anyway. Does that answer your question? Or do you want me to go on and on about Vegas?
If you need anything you feel particularly passionate about, let me know.
Will do.
Jay, I think our time has come to an end. I think we'll leave it right there.
But I should throw in the Big 12 football media days are July 9th and 10th in Vegas. So,
Correct.
So we'll get our fill of 110 degrees in Vegas in July. So.
Sure. Another reason to be inside the casinos.
There you go.
Thanks, Jay. We appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Have a great morning.
You too.